Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello, hello. How are you? Well, hopefully once today. Oh, twice, yeah, for nurses and freshmen. Yes.
Call this meeting of the Board of Supervisors of April 16, 2013 to order. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Bronson? She's here. Supervisor Carroll? Supervisor Elias? Supervisor Miller? Here. Chairman Valadez?
Present.
Let the record show all members are present.
Thank you. Today's invocation will be offered by Pastor Ray Thomas of Holy Way Presbyterian Church and will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Carroll. Please stand.
O Lord our God, the reverberations of the explosions in Boston resound across our country and around the world, and here in Pima County, our hearts and prayers go out to the injured, the grieving, the first responders, and all those who struggle to make this day a better day. And we also struggle to make today a better day. So we turn to you, peace giver, life creator, to lead us all to that better day, to our promised dwelling in a better place. Keep us on the right track as we run this race, stretching beyond marathon length, for we are still so far from the finish line. In this stretch, give us kindness, encouragement, and compassion for one another. In this stretch, give us gratitude for our nearby companions and inspiration from those who have run way ahead of us. In this stretch, give us courage to not turn around or give up. Quench our thirst today for meaning and purpose. Nourish us today with significant steps forward for justice, well-being, and freedom for all. Bless this board, our community, your people, with protection from evil, healing for the wounded, and hope for the journey ahead. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Moving on to item 4, pause for pause. Today we have Officer Bowden with Cassie, who's a Benzaji Chinese Shar-Pei Sonoran purebred. She'll explain that.
Good morning. This is Cassie, and she is a mixed breed dog. We like to call them Sonoran purebreds in this part of the country. She is from her appearance, she appears to be part Basenji, and that's based on the tail, and part Shar-Pei. If you're familiar with the breed, she has a very similar looking face to a Shar-Pei. But she could have anything in there. She's got a little bit of a healer body, maybe some shepherd mix in there. It's really tough to say, but she's a Sonoran purebred, as we say. Very, very well-mannered little girl. She's full grown. And if she wasn't already sitting, I'd show you that she can sit on command. I didn't realize she could until I offered her a treat and straight into the sitting position. She's been with us for about a month now, and so she's absolutely here. She'll do it now. Sit, Cassie. Sit. Sit. Good girl. She's been with us about a month, which means her adoption rate has been discounted. So for $25, you can have yourself a Sonoran purebred. That will include her alteration, so she'll be spayed before she goes home. She'll be microchipped, and she'll have her first round of shots. She, like all the other dogs, is anxious to get into a home of her own, a permanent home, and happy to be just about anybody's companion. She's been real friendly with everybody I've brought her into contact with, does well with other dogs, and walks very well on a leash, and as you can see, very, very well mannered. Other dogs right now are going for $50 a piece. Both the $25 for her discounted rate and the $50 does include the $15 licensing fee. If you're not able to take a dog at this time, as always, we have plenty of room for volunteers, and we quite appreciate the wonderful people that do presently volunteer with us, and we look forward to any new folks joining us. The volunteering, you can go onto our website, find out more about it. If you're not able to take in a dog and you don't have time to volunteer, if you'd like to help, you can go to our website at pima.gov/animalcare, And there is a green icon, as you can see on the board, that says donate. There's a cat and dog alternating with that. And you can click and donate any amount of money. No amount is too large, no amount is too small. Every amount helps, and every bit of it goes to the care of the pets that are in need in our community. Pima Animal Care takes in any and every animal that's brought to us. We don't turn anything away at the door. So I think most of us can appreciate what a valuable asset that is for our community. These animals, when they have no place else to go, sometimes that's the only place they can go. So if you have pets of your own, please, please, please spay and neuter them if you haven't done so already. The pet population continues to be out of control, and spaying and neutering, responsible pet ownership helps curb that a little bit. So I appreciate your time. If you're interested in Cassie, you can come down and look at her today. She'll be available to be looked at. Our facility is open to the public from 12 until 7 on weekdays and from 10 until 5 on weekends. We're located at 4000 North Silverbell. If you have questions, you can call our licensing department at 243-5969. And again, Cassie, if she's not the right dog for you, maybe you know somebody that would like a dog like this. And if she's not, we've got plenty more and plenty of cats to go around. It is puppy and kitten season. There's a boom of cats and dogs this time of year. So we have lots and lots we need to get out the door. So please encourage all your friends to check with the local shelter if you're interested in expanding your home to another member. Thank you. Oh, and little Richard last week did get adopted. So he is happy in his new home. And hopefully that will be his one and only experience having to go to a shelter. As much as the good people down there do good work, it's still not the best option. An animal belongs in a home with people to love and care for it. So thank you.
Well, you know, that Kathy just seems like such a nice dog and so well behaved. Better behaved than our communications director, but you know, he's right there by her foot there. And well, we know that Jeff loves dogs, and we're not going to try and send him home with this dog. But there's a lot of people over here on this side of the room. And you know what? I just got a motion from my good friend Dan Kavanaugh. You can go home with Kathy for free, because he's going to carry the load, because he loves animals. And every time he's here, he does that. And I appreciate that so much, because it really helps us get our animals out the door. So that's really sweet of you, Dan. Really appreciate that very much. But please adopt Kathy. Take her home. She's a lot like me, very willing to talk with anybody who's willing to talk with them. And I just ruined it? Okay. I was trying, Sharon. I thought I was on a roll. Anyways, thank you guys. You know, please be generous.
We do have some changes to the agenda for today. On the agenda, page 3, item number 13, Industrial Development Authority and Resolution number 2013-27. Michael Slania of Rousseau and Slania PC requests that this item be continued to the Board of Supervisors meeting of May 21st, 2013. On the consent calendar, page 8, item 9, Board, Commissions, and/or Committees, Pima County Housing Commission, reappointing Kathleen Hewitt. Expiration date needs to be corrected. It's stated on the agenda as 4/16/17. The correct term expiration date is 12/31/16. On addendum, page 1, item 4, executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A 3 and 4 for legal advice and direction regarding the claim against Pima County by Title Security Agency of Arizona as trustee under trust number 2003 and Valencia Coal Properties LLC. Staff requests that this item be continued to the Board of Supervisors meeting of May 7th, 2013. No. And page 2, item 8, executive session regarding Foothills Real Estate staff request continuance of to the Board of Supervisors meeting of May 7th, 2013. Without objection, those will be the changes to the agenda, and we'll move on to presentations and proclamations. Item number 5, which is Corrections Officers Week. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat that last one because we didn't have a copy of
Oh,
it?
I'm sorry.
It's new.
Which one? Is it on the addendum?
It was just added by the county attorney. Page 2, item 3, executive session on the addendum. Regarding Foothills real estate staff, item 8. Regarding Foothills real estate staff request continuance to Board of Supervisors meeting of May 7th, 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do I have a motion to, motion and a second to approve item number 5? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. I'll ask Supervisor Miller to do the presentation. And Lieutenant, would you please come up to the podium? I believe you've done this once or twice or thrice or 4 times or 5.
Morning.
We'll stick with more than once.
More than once.
You're doing it more than once today.
Good morning, Lieutenant Munoz. Thank you for being here. Supervising offenders in the community and preparing offenders for their return to their communities are critical to protecting the public safety. Community supervision officers must balance the time required to manage growing caseloads and their desire to provide offenders with the services they need to become law-abiding citizens. In 1984, President Reagan signed Proclamation 5187, creating National Corrections Officers Week. The first full week in May has since been recognized as National Correctional Officers Week to honor the work of correctional officers and correctional personnel nationwide. Correctional personnel work under demanding circumstances and face danger in their daily lives. To recognize the contributions made by the men and women who work in jails, prisons, and community corrections across the country, we present this compilation of resources related to correctional facilities and staff within the facilities. The proclamation, whereas we have in our midst individuals whose mission it is to serve and protect the people of Arizona by maintaining custody, care, and control of offenders of the law, and whereas these individuals in the daily course of duty endeavor to maintain a healthy, safe, and secure environment for those entrusted to their keeping and for their peers alike, and whereas through the efforts of these individuals, programs are provided to enhance the possibility that offenders will return to society as law-abiding citizens and as more socially and personally responsible persons. And whereas we recognize that such goals are not achieved without a high degree of personal sacrifice, both mental and physical, and further recognize the quality service rendered to all of our people. Now be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim May 5th, 2013 through May 11th, 2013 to be Correctional Officers Week in this community and urges all citizens of Pima County to show their support to these dedicated individuals. Passed and adopted this 16th day of April 2013. Thank you very much for being here. Would you like to
Again, thank you for this opportunity to receive this Corrections Officer Week proclamation on behalf of the Pima County Sheriff's Corrections Bureau. We'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors and the citizens of Pima County for your continued support. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I'd just like to thank Lieutenant Munoz for coming down here and taking time out to receive this proclamation today. Our correctional workers do very important work for all of us. We're very proud of all of them at the 3 facilities that we operate, men's, women's, and juvenile as well. And you guys are brave and strong, and you're brave and strong for the rest of us. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, Nurses Week.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. I'm going to ask Supervisor Bronson to please make the presentation, and Lieutenant Munoz, would you please come up again?
You're getting better at this than I am. And I'm very pleased to be able to present this proclamation. My mother was a critical care nurse, and during her final days was served very adequately and actually quite tremendously by a home health nurse. So nurses have a special place in my heart. Whereas our nation's largest healthcare profession is comprised of 2.9 million registered nurses, nursing professionals are meeting the various and emerging healthcare needs of the American population in a wide range of settings, and whereas nurses' education and holistic focus promotes restoration and maintenance of health in the individual, therefore aiding in the community's efforts to help individuals make healthy lifestyle choices by putting prevention into practice, and whereas the American Nurses Association, the voice for the registered nurses of this country, is working hard to chart a new course for a healthy nation that relies on increasing delivery of primary and preventative health care, and whereas nursing is a profession that embraces dedicated people with diverse interests, strengths, and passions because of the many opportunities the profession offers. Nurses work in emergency rooms, school-based clinics, homeless shelters, to name a few. And whereas professional nursing is an indispensable component in the safety and quality of care of hospitalized patients in Tucson, and whereas the demand for nursing services is greater than ever because of our aging population and an ever-aging population, the continuing growth of life-sustaining technology and home health care services, and whereas the cost-effective, safe, quality health care services provided by registered nurses will be an ever more important component of the healthcare delivery system of the future, and whereas the nursing leaders in Tucson will be holding a citywide celebration, a showcase of Tucson nurses sharing, caring, and celebrating, which will occur May 5th, 2013, and will include a full day of seminars featuring Tucson area nurses' innovations in improving the health of our community, and a gala honoring the Tucson Fabulous 50 nurses on May 11, 2013. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim May 5th through May 11th to be Nurses Week, Nurses Trusted to Care, and urge all citizens of Pima County to join in honoring the registered nurses who care for us all, passed and adopted this 16th day of April, 2013. And would you like to say a few words?
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not a nurse, but at sometimes we have to respond as such. But again, thank you for this proclamation. Our nurses at the jail work very hard, day in, day out, to provide medical care to our population, as well as during emergency situations for our staff. They are a vital role in the operations of our facility, and we will be presenting this proclamation to our nursing staff there at the Pima County Jail. Again, that's for ComEd medical staff at the Pima County Jail. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now moving to item number 7, National Day of Prayer. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion is second to approve item number 7. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. I'll do this one myself. Yes. Please come up. And let me read the proclamation here. Whereas prayer is a vital part of our nation's rich heritage resulting from our founding fathers who turned to God in prayer as they sacrificially fought for many freedoms that are now freely enjoyed by all citizens of the United States. And whereas President Harry Truman formally recognized the importance of prayer and signed into law Public Law 324 designating the observance of an annual National Day of Prayer, and whereas the United States Congress formally continued this tradition and passed Joint Resolution 382 on April 17, 1952, establishing an annual National Day of Prayer to join all citizens together as a nation acknowledging God in prayer each year. And whereas President Ronald Reagan permanently established the first Thursday of May to be the National Day of Prayer when he signed Public Law 100-307, and whereas we are especially mindful of the many heroic men and women serving in our armed forces, especially those serving abroad, and whereas we join with fellow citizens of all religious faiths and beliefs from throughout our nation under this year's theme of Pray for America, now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors, in keeping with a long-standing and time-honored tradition, hereby proclaim May 2nd, 2013 to be National Day of Prayer and calls on all citizens of Pima County to join with fellow citizens of all religious faiths and beliefs in prayer for God's richest blessings on our nation, state, county, and city, passed and adopted the 16th day of April, 2013.
On behalf of the National Day of Prayer, we just want to thank each and every one of you and the Board of Supervisors for their acknowledgement, their proclamation. It's a great honor, and we don't take prayer lightly. We think it's just an amazing thing to be able to have that opportunity to pray, and the Lord hears us. And I just want to thank each and every one of you.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here. Not only our recipient, but Linda Leatherman as well, who helps coordinate the National Day of Prayer for Pima County. And we've been to many events outside this campus, to churches and places of worship across Pima County on May 2nd, year after year, and years that it never was more meaningful than the present. I think all of us should hope to take part in some National Day of Prayer event this year. So thank you very much, Linda, for heading that up so many years, and appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Moving on to the addendum 1 agenda, item number 1 is the Global Youth Service Days. Is there motion and a second to approve the item? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Supervisor Elias.
Come on over here so you surrender. Makes me look a lot better, let me tell you. Who wants to hold this? You can hold this. There you go. Nicole, all right. You know, it's amazing to me that we have Global Youth Service Days, the largest service event in the world. And it's been held every year since 1988. It's amazing to me because I think every day is Global Youth Services Day. Really the things that young people do for us by just their very existence inspire us to do the right things, to love each other more, and to care about the little things that matter to us all. So those are the feelings that I share every day when I think about my own child as well as the children that influence me in the world. But that notwithstanding, we're going to go ahead and read this proclamation anyways, because it's really important that we do this, and they've written it out and they framed it, so you know we're going to do the whole thing anyways. Whereas Global Youth Services Day is a time for everyone to celebrate the contributions young people make to their communities every day of the year through service and service learning. Whereas Global Youth Service Days is a program of Youth Service America, is one of the largest service events in the world, and is dedicated solely to engaging youths 5 to 25 in age. And whereas in 2013, Global Youth Service Day is being observed for the 25th year in all 50 states and for the 14th year globally in more than 100 countries on 6 continents. And whereas, I think Antarctica is the one they left out. Whereas Pima County depends on youth as assets vital to its communities and benefits from their knowledge, idealism, skills, perspectives, ideas, and creativity as the youth lead activities involving awareness, service, advocacy, and philanthropy. And whereas nearly 1/3 of the United States population, about 104 million residents, and nearly 1/2 of the global population is under the age 25. And whereas the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act recognizes Global Youth Service Day as a national day of service and calls on U.S. citizens to participate. And whereas Youth Service America and the Tucson Service Learning Group are mobilizing the residents of Pima County to serve their communities on Global Youth Service Days. And whereas high-quality community service and service learning programs increase young people's academic engagement and achievement, improve their workforce readiness and 21st century skills, refine their social, emotional, and behavioral skills, and enhance their civic knowledge and engagement. And whereas young people will improve their communities on Global Youth Service Days by addressing a myriad of critical issues such as illiteracy, dropping out of high school, childhood obesity, hunger, poverty, environmental degradation, public safety, and disaster preparedness. And whereas Global Youth Service Day provides an opportunity for schools, community, and faith-based organizations, government agencies, businesses, and families to engage youth as active citizens, community leaders, and problem solvers. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim April 26, 2013 through April 28, 2013 to be Global Youth Service Days in Pima County and urge all residents to make service to their communities a high priority and a regular practice, passed and adopted this 16th day of April in 2013. Would everyone who believes in the power of youth and their strength to make things right in the world please stand up and applaud? Thank you very much. Would like to say a word?
Yes, we'd like to say thank you to the board and to everyone and to the citizens here in Tucson because we have such a great community here in Pima County. I just want to say, you know, we have this incredible week, and although I'm between that age 5 and 25, at least in heart, but we have been working nonstop. We started about 2 years ago with a youth retreat with about 8 different high schools here in town, and we've brought together over 100 youth. And those youth together have created service learning projects here in Tucson, partnering with all of our nonprofits, Ben's Bells, Casa de los Niños, Primavera, Los Anuncios. They've just been all over. Susan G. Komen, and they've been doing projects with everybody in our community. And although they've created so many great projects, it's time to recognize them and celebrate all that they've done. And so on the 26th, right here on Pennington Street, it's the Pennington Street Block Party from 4 to 7 p.m. And we're going to be celebrating all of these projects they've been doing in our community and changing lives of those around them. And so we're creating leaders of our youth, but our youth leaders need followers and people who can show that they believe in what they're doing. So if you could come out, spend time with them, see what it is that they've been doing in your community, I say come out and celebrate with them on that evening because they have done an incredible job. And this has been a lot of work of teachers, AmeriCorps, and then the youth of our community. So come on out and join us. And again, thank you to the board and everybody for acknowledging this day with us.
Thank you. Now moving on to item number 2. Supervisor Carroll, and I'd like to ask Sylvia Grajeda, please come up. Butch, Dave, Joe, please come up with her.
We've heard proclamations this morning representing and celebrating people who pray, people who serve, people who make others healthier, and people who make others act better. But there is never a better time. We save the best for last, because now we honor a person, a great man, a good man. And Ed Grajeda really made a difference in what he did. You could tell he was a faithful person in every action that he made during his life with us and his life prior, and a testament is all the family that are here to celebrate Ed this morning. We prepared this for you, obviously. One will hang at our shooting range, the beautiful Southeast Regional Shooting Range. I wanted to introduce not just Mrs. Grajeda, but Butch Jensen, Joe Barr, and Dave Daughtry, all the guys who knew and loved Ed on a daily basis. But we knew and loved Ed from just his reputation and from his efforts there. So we're grateful for you being here this morning. Let me go ahead and read what the plaque says. Then I'm going to ask you and Ed and Dave, we've got the rest of the morning and the rest of our lives to celebrate your husband. In memoriam, Ed Grajeda, Range Master, Line Safety Officer from 2009 through 2013. Ed began his service with Pima County Natural Resources, Parks, and Recreation as a volunteer line safety officer at the Southeast Regional Park Shooting Range. During his first 9 months, he volunteered over 678 hours of service, over 300 more hours than any volunteer before and after. Ed's commitment and dedication was soon recognized, and he was hired as a range master. Ed loved shooting and was dedicated and committed to firearms safety and responsible use of firearms, and to his family. Ed worked diligently until the time of his passing. We are all blessed and honored to have known and served with Ed. He will be missed. So thank you again for being here. We deeply appreciate your visit. Say some things.
I just want to thank everyone for the board and everyone else. Thank you for being here for Ed and supporting him on behalf of the Grajeda family. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we really thank you for this opportunity. Ed was a very special man, and he was very committed to the safety of others and to the shooting sports. He saw the importance of providing an opportunity to be safer, to be more responsible with firearms, and try to encourage and model that behavior at our ranges. He worked tirelessly. He was, I always teased him. I said we had to hire him because he gave less hours if he worked for us than he did, because I knew we were going to get in trouble because we were keeping him away from his home too long. Ed worked tirelessly for us, and was always there for us, and even up to towards the end. We'd call Ed, and he'd go, I'm going to be out there next Friday, and I want to be out there next Thursday, and he did make it till finally his health wouldn't allow him to even be a part of it, and it was an amazing experience for all of us, for him to share his life with us at doing what he loved and what we loved. And so Sylvia, thank you for letting Ed come out and work and do his magic with us, and we really appreciate your commitment and dedication as well as Ed's. He was a great person, and we're very fortunate to have known.
Thanks. I'm glad that, Joe, I know all of us, we appreciate your visit, and you're welcome to come here anytime. But of course, we hope that you'll come out to the range and use the lane and visit with his old friends as often as you can. Thank you. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Chair will entertain the motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. We are going into executive session and we'll return to the sound of the gavel. At
I'm glad to hear that.
Call this meeting back to order. We had several items on the executive session calendar. Council.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Item 3 on the addendum agenda was continued from last week and concerns the possible recovery from the city of Tucson of excess costs that Pima County incurred as part of upgrading the water main to serve the new County Justice Courts project. The county attorney seeks direction from the board as to whether or not to pursue those costs.
So will the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move the item and move that we move forward as discussed in executive session with a claim against the city.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney's recommendation and move forward with the claim against the city as discussed.
I
in
don't know.
executive session.
You didn't make a recommendation.
That is correct.
I offered that
Okay.
as a motion, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Minus the recommendation, though. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the next item we considered was items 5 and 6 on the addendum agenda. This concerns the Saguaro Ranch tax litigation. The consolidated lawsuits cover tax years 2011 and 2012. Total of 63 parcels are involved for each of those years. 59 parcels were appealed for tax year 2011 via the complaint in the 2010 tax case. 4 parcels were appealed for tax year 2011 via the complaint filed in the 2011 case, and 63 parcels were appealed for tax year 2012 via the complaint filed in the 2011 tax case. All of the parcels involved in this matter are listed in Exhibit A, as is a complete summary with regard to each tax settlement I will be discussing with the board this morning. And those will be filed with the clerk of the board. The upshot of the proposed settlement would be that there would be an estimated tax decrease of $299,775 for tax years for the tax year based on 2011 based on 2010 tax rate. Excuse me. For 2012 based on 2011 tax rates. The proposed settlement would also result in an estimated tax decrease of $100,910 for. All right, I'm confused. The first figure relates to the year 2011. The second year relates to 2012, and that amount is $100,910 based on 2012 tax rates. The values for 2012 will roll over to 2013 pursuant to the statute. The total estimated decrease for tax years 2011 and 12 is $400,685. The assessor and county attorney recommend settlement as discussed in executive session.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
I hate to do this, Chris.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you to repeat that because it was not as clear as it could be. And for the public's sake, I would ask you to please repeat.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I
members
apologize
of the board,
for
there
doing
was
that.
Yeah, I have a confusion in my notes, and my apologies to the chairman and to the board and to you in particular, sir.
You're forgiven.
The bottom line here is it's a settlement for 2 years, 2011 and 2012. The total tax decrease is $400,685.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item 7 on the addendum agenda concerns CIS Servicing LLC versus Pima County. This is case number TX 2011-831 in the Arizona Tax Court. This litigation involves a hotel currently operating as a Quality Inn and Suites by Choice Hotels located on the west side of Oracle Road and north of Minor Road. The litigation pertains to tax year 2012. The proposed settlement would result in an estimated tax decrease of $94,120 for tax year 2012 based on 2012 tax rates. The values for tax year 2012 will roll over to tax year 2013 pursuant to the statute. The assessor and the county attorney recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to move to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Council.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Item 9 on the addendum agenda concerns G&E Healthcare REIT Academy LLC versus Pima County. This is case number TX 2011-957 in the Arizona Tax Court. This litigation involves multiple single-story medical office buildings located on the east side of Wilmont Road, just north of Broadway Boulevard. There are 4 parcels involved. The estimated tax decrease as a result of this settlement is $37,745 for tax year 2012 based on 2012 tax rates. Due to the results of a 2013 tax year administrative appeal, the values for tax year 2012 will not roll over to 2013. The assessor and the county attorney recommend this settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation on item number 9. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Counsel.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item 10 on the addendum agenda concerns WCCP1 Finance Drive LLC et al. Versus Pima County. This is case number TX 2011-982 in the Arizona Tax Court. This litigation involves 3 two-story office buildings and an adjacent parking lot located south of Speedway Boulevard and a short distance east of Kolb Road. The proposed settlement would result in no change in taxes for the parking lot, but for the buildings, the parcel, the estimated decrease would be $78,111 for tax year 2012 based on 2012 tax rates. The stipulated agreement reached by the parties excuse me. The values will not roll over for 2013, bottom line. County attorney and the assessor recommend the proposed settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation on item number 10. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Counsel.
Yes, the last item is item 11 on the addendum agenda, and this concerns WCCP Plaza Palomino LLC versus Pima County. This is TX 2012-201 in the Arizona Tax Court. This litigation involves Palomino Plaza, located at the southeast corner of Swan Road and Fort Lowell Road. The proposed settlement would result in a tax decrease. This litigation pertains to both tax years 2012 and 2013, and the resulting estimated tax decrease is $111,410 for tax year 2012 and $128,880 for tax year 2013 based on 2012 tax rates. The values for year 2013 will roll over to tax year 2014 pursuant to the statute. The assessor and the county attorney's office recommend settlement.
Move the county attorney and assessor's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the county attorney and assessor's recommendation on item number 11. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. I believe that's all for the executive session. Moving on to Board of Supervisors sitting as other boards, Flood Control District Board, item number 8 on the regular agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 8 on the regular agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session, consent calendar. We don't have any cards. There's anyone here who would like to address the board to call to the public on consent calendar item only? Hearing none?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item 15 for separate discussion and vote.
Item 15?
On the consent.
There's only
Oh, I'm sorry.
only 14
I'm
items.
sorry. Never mind. No.
Transportation.
Right, that's under transportation, sorry.
Okay. So no pulling?
Mr.
No.
Chairman,
Okay. Supervisor Elias.
I'll move consent as amended.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors, item number 11.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Elias.
you know, I read through these rules and regulations, and I did have one item of question and concern. Item 8 on page 6, signs. The background information and our rules is currently, well, as they've been submitted to us for approval here. say, item 8 says signs must not obstruct the view of any person in the hearing room or hinder any person's participation in the proceedings. The Sergeant at Arms can ask that signs be removed from the hearing room or otherwise be placed out of sight. That causes me a little bit of concern in that I'd hate for anyone to accuse the Sergeant at Arms of playing favorites in the boardroom. I think that's the discretion of the board and the board chairman. So I would suggest that we change that language, that last sentence.
Where, excuse me, where is that?
Page 6 of 8, under item K8, page 6.
Can I be in charge of arbitrating?
No, just kidding.
So you're suggesting delete the second sentence?
The second sentence, I would delete and change to the board chair or a board member acting as chair can direct the Sergeant at Arms to have offensive signs removed from the hearing room or otherwise be placed out of sight.
Okay, anyone have any issues with that?
I think it's only correct that that kind of move comes from us.
Okay, all right. So what's the will of the board on the item?
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and move the item with that one sentence in item K8 being amended. The sentence in question begins, "The Sergeant at Arms," and I would suggest that it reads, "The board chair or a board member acting as chair can direct the Sergeant at Arms to have offensive signs removed from the hearing room or otherwise be placed out of sight."
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Robin, if you need that language, I have it here, okay?
Ayes have it. Moving on to item 12 and 14, and resolution number 2013-26 and 28.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move those items.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item number 14 and 12 and resolutions number 2013-26 and 28. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 15, Supervisor Miller.
Mr. Chairman, the question I had on item 15 was the warranty on the roads. The Pima County, these roads are turned over to Pima County after the developer gets finished building them, and they only apply a one-year warranty. Isn't the typical warranty, or excuse me, repair on a mean time between failure on a road about 5 years? And why would we accept one-year warranty versus the 5 years that is typical for a road repair? That's my understanding on a new road. Priscilla, is that correct?
Ms. Cornelio.
And this is, as you know, this is in flood-prone areas, so it makes it even more germane. Can't hear you.
Supervisor Miller, I have to be honest. We have accepted roads in private subdivisions for a one-year period of time. That's generally what we do even on our roadway jobs, a one-year warranty with our contractors. So we're applying the same standards that we apply to our contractors as a private developer applies to his contractor.
Typically when we build a road, doesn't it typically last 5 years before we need repairs? That's my understanding. That's why I'm kind of confused on this, is when we build a new road, the typical time to failure is about 5 years before you have to start doing repairs.
I would suggest, Councilmember Miller, that Supervisor Miller, I'm sorry, that it is about 7 years after, we have a brand new road that you want to start doing the resurfacing treatments, the pavement preservation. So it's a little longer period of time than what you are suggesting. It's usually about 7 years. Unfortunately, that we in Pima County have, and DOT, we have not been adequately taking care of our brand new roads because of our lack of revenue. So that's sort of an aside issue.
Well, we've been doing it for 1 year, but given the issues with surrounding pavement preservation, do we want to look at, in terms of the acceptance, instead of a 1 year, do we want to, should that, and who would that go to determine, but maybe we want to change that policy so that it's, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. Any thoughts, Mr. Bernal, Mr. Cornelius?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I think that the clarification here is that we're talking a 1-year warranty for workmanship, things that are obviously, not up to our standards. However, if typically a roadway condition on a pavement, it will be some kind of a material discrepancy from our material standard, that we can still pursue some kind of some kind of corrective action from the contractor or his supplier.
Even if it's greater than a year in terms of the failure?
Absolutely. I mean, because again, there has to be, we have quality control. Of course, they'll come back to us and say, well, you inspected it, you accepted it. But we have had instances where we had premature failures, and if we, certainly analyze them carefully enough, we typically find that there is some deviation from a standard that shouldn't have been allowed, whether we inspected it or not.
Mr. Bernal, if we had premature failures, are you talking premature to the 5-year or 7-year
Yes.
typical? Then
Yes.
why would we even put in the contract a 1-year warranty?
Because as I said, I think typically we assume all responsibility for routine maintenance, whether it's sweeping, whether it's picking up debris, but we're talking about instances where we will have some kind of a premature condition that shouldn't have occurred in that first year, and I again, in looking at our own work, I think we know that we'd be susceptible to some increased cost if in fact we chose to extend that, which is a decision we could certainly explore. And with the developers, of course, they in turn would similarly be exposed to increased costs from their contractors. So it's a matter of, again, risks analysis and what it is we believe is good policy.
Mr. Bernal?
Yes, sir.
Has this policy worked well for you in the past?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we believe so, absolutely.
So
Is it in keeping with, and following up on your question, is it in keeping with industry standards, with common practice?
As far as we know with other government agencies, yes. Again, there's always instances where we have, I'm thinking of a failure that occurred on the southeast side of town not long ago and it was more subsurface sewers, but it caused the roadway to fail as well. I mean, we had quite a long, drawn-out negotiation, but we got some satisfaction out of that contract, or the developer and his contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions, I'll move the item at this time.
Motion and a second to approve item number 15 on the regular agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Hearings, franchises, licenses, and permits, items 16 through 18.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Carroll.
if there's no one here to speak out or in favor of these fireworks permits and a wine festival permit, I'd like to go ahead and close the public hearing and approve items 16, 17, and 18.
Second.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Lewis.
Last time Mr. Carroll invited me to go to the wine festival with him.
That was in
This time
District
there was
4.
not that
This
invitation.
one's up in the Supervisor Miller District, if she'd
Well,
like to
that's why
invite
it
us
might be good
both.
for us to go.
You're
I'm just
welcome to
kidding.
come anytime.
Supervisor Miller, would you like to extend an invitation?
I would extend an invitation to everyone in the room. Please
Bottoms
come.
up. Thank you. There you go.
Motion before us to close the public hearing and approve items number 16 through 18. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Development Services, item number 19, staff report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a Type 3 conditional use permit request for a communications tower in the GR1 zone. Actually, it is not for a new tower. This is an existing tower. We are talking here about an increase in height of that existing tower, which is located on one of the fire station properties of the Picture Rocks Fire District. It is an existing tower which serves the district's communication needs. This was actually part of a conditional use permit approval that the board approved back in December of 2010 for co-location of certain panel antenna. In the meantime, those antenna were never built because the new emerging 4G technology made it such that those originally improved panel antenna at that height would not satisfactorily serve the 4G technology. So you've got this new application in front of you for a slightly higher set of antenna up at 89 feet and a 10-foot increase in the height of the existing communications tower. We've had no public comment on this case of any kind. The Planning and Zoning Commission had no members of the public appear to speak, and the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of this to the board, subject to standard and special conditions. I'd be happy to answer whatever questions any of the board members might have of me.
Mr. Chairman, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address us on this item?
And only the applicant, and only speak if necessary.
Okay. And if that's the case, I move we close public hearing, approve the type 3 conditional use permit for P21-12-020, subject to standard and special conditions as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the hearing administrator.
Second.
Motion and second to close the public hearing and approve item 19 with standard and special conditions as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as the hearing administrator. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 20 and
Mr.
21.
Chairman.
And resolution number 2013, 21, and 29. Supervisor Elias.
I'll go ahead and move both those items, 20 and 21, including resolutions 2013, 21, and 2013, 29.
And
Close public hearing.
Second. But only if you go to Cyclovia.
Only if I go to Cyclovia?
You got to participate.
You want me to ride in Cyclovia? I mean, I know. I could see that coming, Sharon.
All right, so the motion before us is to close the public hearing and approve item number 20 and 21 and ordinance number 2013-21 and resolution number 2013-29. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Mr. Chairman?
Ayes have it. Supervisor Miller.
I had a question regarding the procedure that we just passed, and if it applies now, I would like to go back to the consent calendar because I had items I wanted to pull. And my understanding is if I was in the majority vote that I could pull those in this meeting.
Are you trying to reconsider a vote?
Just
today.
now. I didn't pull them. I had them here to pull, and I didn't have them pulled. And
So-
that's my
have to
understanding
vote
of a
for
new procedure that
reconsideration,
we
wouldn't
can in fact do that.
What's the Supervisor Elias?
So wouldn't we have to vote for a reconsideration?
Right, so is your motion for reconsideration on the consent calendar?
I'll make a
Or
motion for
specific items?
reconsideration for items on the consent calendar that I would like to pull. Item 3 under health, item 5, and item 6 under procurement.
Okay. All right, the motion is, and I'll make it specific to those items, is that okay?
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Is for, having voted on the prevailing side, Supervisor Miller has made a motion and seconded by Supervisor Carroll to reconsider items on the consent calendar, page 7, item number 3, 5, and 6. Correct?
Correct. Mhm.
Yeah, he seconded it. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by
Well,
saying
Mr. Chairman, I tell you, I'm willing to vote to go along to be nice, but I think we should be a little more on top of it here if we're going to make these kind of things. I don't mean to admonish
Go ahead and
Supervisor Miller.
It happens.
You know, but it happens, so, you know.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm not out of line, I saw in our rules that
We can.
maybe each board member should receive the most up-to-date, I don't know if it's a sergeant or the clerk or the county attorney who's going to provide for our Robert's Rules of Order that we abide by here so we can just have no further confusion about it. If that's okay. Request that each member get an updated current copy of, I've got a copy. I just
We
want to
just
make sure
got it.
we all operate off the same copy. Thank you.
We just voted.
Okay, I will request that the clerk provide us each with a copy of the new rules as well as a copy of Robert's rules. All right, so again, the motion for us on the reconsideration on consent calendars items 3, 5, and 6. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Supervisor Miller.
On item 3 for the Tucson Unified School District, there's an IGA and it has a specific provision allowing the parties to extend the agreement up to 4 additional periods. My question is, it says there's 0 funding from Pima County and 0 revenue to Pima County, and there's no funding source in the contract. I have 2 questions. Number one, what is the funding source? This obviously isn't free. And number two, do we want to allow the parties to extend the agreement up to 4 additional one-year periods, or do we want this to come back before the board?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we don't have any health staff here. My recommendation is let's just hold it for a week. We'll get all the information to you. We're sorry that that information wasn't in the background material.
Okay. Thank you.
For 3 and 5.
Yeah, 3 and 5.
3 and 5.
Okay. And Supervisor Miller, I think you had one more item?
Yes, I did. Item number 6. This one, the schedule is delayed as a result. I'm not sure why. It doesn't say why. The contractor's Motorola Solutions. They have.
We're continuing that as well.
We're continuing.
Continuing that as well?
Because it's under the health department.
We'll have to make a motion, but.
All right, whatever.
They're installing, they're requesting that the payment methodology be changed so that they are paid 35% of the total value of the order. Originally, they were supposed to be paid 35% of the total value of the order upon complete equipment installation. Apparently, there's been delays in the contract. We have paid $26,000 already on this contract. My question is, why are we reevaluating the payment methodology to Motorola Solutions at this time versus continuing with the original contract language?
Captain Wilson?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, we've paid considerably more than the $26,000 on this contract with Motorola. This particular payment milestone relates to payments that become due upon the installation of mobile and portable radio equipment. The total value of that's about $17 million, and so this one particular milestone payment's about $6 million. Because of some delays in the construction schedule for the Thomas Price Service Center, it's caused us to adjust the installation schedule for equipment that's going to be going to the city of Tucson, which would delay that payment to Motorola by about 3 months. And being in fairness with the contractor, we recommended changing that to progress payments, so that for every 10% of the equipment that they install, then we will make a 10% payment of that milestone, so about 10 payments of $600,000 each as installations occur.
So this delay is due to the city of Tucson and Pima County?
The city of Tucson has some unique issues relative to their dispatch center, which is affecting other areas of the project. They're having to phase the construction at the Thomas Price Service Center for the dispatch facilities to allow those to occur kind of simultaneous with system cutover, which means kind of some last-minute installations, if you will, for their mobile and portable radio equipment, and it's pushed the installation of their equipment back by a few months, which would have then delayed the payment to Motorola by an equal period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions, I'm going to move item 6 on the consent agenda then.
Second.
Motion and second to approve item number 6 on the consent calendar agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we continue items 3 and 5 on the consent calendar till our first meeting in May. I think that's the very next meeting, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second to continue items 3 and 5 on the consent calendar to our next board meeting in May. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to the addendum agenda. Board of Supervisors, sitting as other boards, Library District Board, item number 12.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the item.
Mr. Chairman?
And we can take it with item 16 as well?
Item 16, sure.
Supervisor Miller.
I had a question on this one. We're taking over the maintenance, the county's taking over the maintenance and repairs of the library, and yet we're making payments to Oro Valley for this maintenance. Is that because their employees are doing this maintenance? Is that why we're paying them?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, that's correct. The library is actually located within their community government facility, so the surrounding area, landscape, et cetera, is part of the package.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
The motion includes item 12 and item 16?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Motion before us is on the approval of item 12 and number 16 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Board of Supervisors sitting in regular session. Board of Supervisors, item number 13, resolution number 2013-30.
I think we probably have some people in the audience
We
that
do.
want to speak to this.
We have first, I'm going to call on Barbara Warren. Please come up, identify yourself for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias.
I just add that that's Dr. Barbara Warren.
I realized it once I looked.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
I would say that this is a very coincidental visit by the doctor in relation to the newspaper article on the front page of the Arizona Daily Star this morning that their environmental reporter has obviously investigated and now brought to our attention that the drought is as severe as it can be, and we have what is predicted as an awful year in the forecast. So I think water is our most valuable resource in the desert. We obviously have limitations, and I'm grateful that you're here today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor
before
Elias.
Dr. Warren begins, excuse me, Dr. Warren, Supervisor Carroll is right, and I had that feeling that I should have spoke up during the discussion of those fireworks permits, but we typically have that pretty well covered. So just a word to the warning for those folks who are out there doing legal fireworks, that they are subject to approval by the local fire district, and making sure that it's safe given the weather conditions. I apologize, Dr. Warren, but I just wanted to make that clarification.
Dr. Warren, if you could identify yourself for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Barbara Warren. I live in Tucson, 3653 North Prince Village Place. I come representing the Arizona State chapter of Physicians for Social Responsibility, and also the national organization, Physicians for Social Responsibility. We are very, very much appreciative of your considering this resolution this morning, and also of your concern and dedication to the health and well-being of the people of Pima County. And in that spirit, we are working to prepare. We've been working for about a half a year now on a very special conference addressing the health and well-being of extreme weather and weather conditions that are changing in our community. And we feel it's very important for us to engage the community in the Southwest region in conversations about how we can come together as a community to build resilience to these changing conditions. And so we very much appreciate your consideration of a resolution to support this. And again, we would like to invite each of the board members to attend this conference as our guests and special representatives of the county, as our very special guests, each one of you. The conference is going to be held on September 21st at the Tucson Convention Center from 8 to 5 in the afternoon, and we already have a very, very great response from the community about this happening and people wanting to participate. We also have close to 30 co-sponsors, both local and national co-sponsors. So there's a lot of excitement about this. People are looking at this as a model for how folks in other communities can replicate the same kind of approach to being prepared for extreme weather. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Any questions? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Elias, I do have one more speaker.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Michelle Mickey McDonald.
I had a feeling she might want to speak.
Morning, Doctor.
Chairman Valadez, members of the board, thank you for considering this resolution. I'm Dr. Mickey or Michelle McDonald. I'm a retired public health physician and also a member of Physicians for Social Responsibility. And I just really wanted to add that I think one of the things that is really exciting about this conference to me is that there's at this point in time, a fair amount of information out there, really, about what kinds of things are happening in terms of our climate, what kinds of things are happening in terms of the health impacts, which actually some of them, are already with us. And I am a fervent believer that, government has a certain responsibility to provide leadership when there are sort of community-wide impacts, and particularly if that involves emergency situations. But this is very much a situation where everybody has a role to play, and I think that's what's exciting about this conference, is that it's aiming to bring together multiple aspects of the community and try to promote resiliency among everyone, so that we're not just counting on the government to sort of take care of us as this unfolds. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. And Supervisor Elias.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move on to 13, including resolution 2013-30, and thank our two doctors for coming here and speaking to us today, taking their time.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 13 on the addendum agenda and resolution number 2013-30. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By your vote of 4-1, motion carries. Moving on to item number 14.
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of item 14, proposed
Second.
workplace bullying policy.
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Carroll.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly have some questions about this policy. I was wondering, I guess the county attorney's representative could help me understand this. Politics is what it is today, and I want to make sure that the discussion that we had is on the record. I think you recently have heard even the president repeat a saying often said, that is, politics ain't beanbag. Okay? Politics, a lot of the times in this current era especially, is the politics of character attacks and personal destruction. Personal attacks and the politics of personal destruction is what makes me bring this issue of the county administrators to the dais for discussion right now. Are we part of this class of employees that's going to be subject to this policy, Chris? And I'm saying elected officials and line officers included in this, board of supervisors, line officers, and even non-classified or political appointed employees. Can you answer that?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Carroll, I do not have the benefit of the policy before me. For whatever reason, the electronics.
Let me
are
be
not
a help
working.
to you and
That would
pass
help.
it down if you'd like. But
Yeah. I just want to
we
make
could
certain.
also
I
give
would-
you plenty of time if you want to delay
Yes.
it because of that. I don't want to force you into going shooting from the hip.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Supervisor Carroll in particular, under the procedure, item 3 of the procedure, subsection C1, the county administrator, when you're talking about corrective action for employees found in violation, the county administrator would direct the department to refer the known perpetrators to the human resources training officer for coaching or to the employee assistance program for counseling. It would appear to me anyway that that this does not cover, since the county administrator cannot direct you direct the county administrator, that this would apply to your actions in particular.
So the only thing that applies to board members, other line officers, and non-classified or political appointees is their own self-control and charity? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, certainly with regard to this particular issue in terms of bullying, you're dealing with an employment context, Supervisor, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Carroll, and there are other laws that deal with how one treats employees, including other employees within the county system. If there are violations of civil rights, for example, other types of harassment, sexual harassment, those kinds of things could subject a supervisor to liability in those instances. Your
Or
question
any
is-
other line, or any other line officer.
Right, with respect to that, absolutely. Your question is specifically as to the application of this policy with respect to political activity.
Right.
I don't see it at this point that it would be something that you would need to be concerned about.
Well, I am concerned about it. First off, I don't like to separate classes in our workforce. I can understand if we're all protected by the First Amendment. I'm not in favor, of course, of bullying in any place, school or church or workplace, of course. But I am concerned that we're separating ourselves from the thousands of other employees that Pima County has in our workforce. I just want to make sure that if I go on the record that I understand, I sign the civility pledge and I try to act like that each day, but I will say that as elections heat up and as things go their normal course, I think each and every one of us should remember that there is this policy that exists. If we want to voluntarily make the effort to abide by it, that's, I guess, up to us individually.
Yeah.
And there is only the policy of you can be charged probably, but as I said, First Amendment, you have to be, I think it's acting with malicious intent if you're going to be probably prosecuted. But I will also say that this policy, I think, should further be looked at by our employee council. Is it Ben?
Supervisor Miller?
It was my understanding that this policy was written by the HR director, Alan Bolzomi.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Has it been
Supervisor Miller,
reviewed by the employment council?
It has been vetted. It was developed within Human Resources and their staff, not just Mr. Bolzomi.
But has it been looked at by the employment council? We have a council of employees that's set up, not just the merit commission, but do we not have an employee group? That's right, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Carroll, that I don't know.
I mean, I like these things not to just slip under the radar, and especially when we're talking about the day and age of, sensitivity training. I know you have certain issues. I guess board members could vote to censor a fellow member, but I think the line officers and the political appointees are somehow also need to be brought in on this policy, so each and every, not just us as board members who are going to vote to enact the policy, but those other line officers and employees should have a chance of looking at the particulars. I have passed my copy to Chris, as he says it was hard to get a copy of, or he didn't have a copy. Maybe others in our elected ranks have not also had a chance to look at it. And I want to make sure that they have a chance. If we could have the clerk send it to each elected official as well, that would be hopeful and helpful.
Supervisor Leos?
I'm not sure I understand your concerns, Ray. I mean, I hear you saying that, I don't mean to put words in your mouth.
Sure, no, I understand.
Why don't you restate what your concerns are more clearly so that we all understand? Because I'm not sure whether you're saying elected officials should be involved in this or be subject to this policy or not.
Wouldn't bother me if they were.
I think you're suggesting that we all should, which
should,
I would
but
agree with.
But we're not, and we're not.
So you want us included in the policy?
I think it would be dangerous to include us in the policy,
Okay,
frankly,
then I'm
because
really
as
off track. I don't
because
understand
as
what you're saying.
campaigns heat up and rhetoric and gets inflamed. I think it would be somehow a witch hunt, possibly, to include us in this. It could be used as a tool of
But we're not
campaigning.
included in it as
We're not.
as our chief counsel has told us.
That's correct. We're not. But I want to make sure that all the other line officers are aware of the policy, and all the other, whether it's
I think we can
employee
instruct
groups.
staff to do that. That's not a problem, I think.
Well, that's what I'm hopeful for.
The county administrator can do that.
That's what I'd like to see happen.
As the seconder of the motion, I'd be willing to include that in our motion.
Thank you.
Is the maker of the motion
Yes,
Okay.
I would be willing to include that amendment in the motion.
Sure. Supervisor Miller, I think you had the comment.
Oh, I just was, when I read this, I understood that this was bullying in the workplace is where it applied, so I don't think it applied to the campaign
No.
trail or anything in an outside campaign. That's where I'm getting confused because I didn't read anything like that in it. Maybe I missed something, Mr. Carroll,
Well, I would-
Supervisor Carroll, but.
Thank you. I would just say that we are employees and politicians. We can't separate that. We're both every day. And that's why I wanted to make sure I brought the issue up.
Well, I would just say that, you know, it seems to me that although it just pertains to this particular board and the 11 years that I've been on this board, I think we've always been respectful of each other, even in difficult times. And that includes all the times me and Ray call each other names. But I think we do it in a mindful way, and I think that's been good. And admittedly, I'm only talking about the people that have been on the board during the last 11 years, but I think we can go by that. I think we set an excellent example of all of that, so. You know.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I had the chance to make those comments and that I could ask the staff to, as I said, circulate this ordinance or this policy amongst the other board, amongst the other elected line officers on Pima County's payroll. Thank you.
All right, the motion before us is the approval of item number 14 on the addendum agenda with the amendment that directs staff to make sure that this policy gets circulated amongst all the other elected officials in Pima County. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it by unanimous vote. Moving on to item number 15.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Miller.
I had a question on item 15. This looks like another one where we're coming back after the fact. This IGA with the University of Arizona commenced on July 1st, 2012, and it ends on June 30th, 2013. My question is, why are we approving these after the fact? And then also the other thing that I noted on there is about $17,000 of this goes to salaries, travel, and administrative costs. So is that in the spirit of what these grant funds are supposed to be used for?
Mr. Atha.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, on the first point, the university has a history of being extremely slow in the processing of any kind of agreements. And my understanding is that this agreement has been in the hands of the university for a number of months and is only getting back from them for us. On the second point, this contract is actually for services of the mobile health unit or services that are associated with the mobile health unit. It helps pay for a small portion of the staff and the expenses for that unit, and at the same in providing health services in the rural areas of the county. And in addition, they provide eligibility processing for some of our financial assistance and provide us with a mechanism for getting into the rural areas of the community that we don't have through other agencies.
Okay, thank you. Getting back to the University of Arizona, shouldn't we approve these IGAs prior to giving them this funding, and it might make them speed up the process a little bit?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, I think the fear I would have is that they would never finish the process if we approved them in advance.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Atha, these are CSBG funds as opposed to CDB funds, so they typically are used for salaries and services as opposed to bricks and mortar. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Bronson, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Atha, typically wouldn't one of these contracts like this be on consent because it's almost a ministerial act given the fact that we've already approved this money in the budget?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Elias, I think that's true, but in this case, since it is so late, I think we wanted to process it, to get it processed once we got it back, and that's why
I understand that, but I just wanted to put it in the right context.
Yes, sir. I think that's correct.
Okay, given that information, I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 15 on the addendum agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to items 17 and 18.
I'll move those items.
Mr. Chairman, on item 18, I had some questions on the Rito Park Foundation.
Please proceed.
They're developing this museum on this 4.1 acre parcel, and I understand that the county is going to pay them $1,000 a month to proceed, and they're supposed to invest $300,000 to complete this museum in 5 years, or excuse me, to complete some improvements, and then the ultimate goal is to complete the museum at a cost of $3.8 million, and they're going to raise the funds by hosting events on the property and also hoping to get grant money. The first thing that I have a question about is why aren't we getting an amendment to the 2000 IGA between the city and county prior to entering this agreement, because this is a requirement that we get this clearance from the city prior to being able to proceed with this. I know the city in the past hasn't always been real straightforward when dealing with them on these types of agreements, and it will be up to them whether to approve the releasing us from this IGA that we currently have with them.
Ms. Losser?
Chairman Valdez, Supervisor Miller, we are in the process of putting an IGA through to the city. The IGA that you're referencing was done when we had the 2004 bond package. The project that the IGA was on was for a community park at the Rito racetrack area. We were not able to find enough land for a park, so we decided to change that IGA to put a community center at the park. And with that, we bought the Shoemaker Jelks house in anticipation of using that site, which is the property we're talking about. Once we had acquired that property, it was not large enough to do the kind of new community center that the city had anticipated. So we then moved the community center to the west side of the Rito Racetrack Park. The city has come back to us saying that they would like to see the park used differently. So we will be processing another IGA for several changes. We just advanced this because the Jelks house is a very beautiful property that is in really good condition, and we don't want to see it vandalized. There are some things that you did mention as you were referencing it that I'd like Neil probably to address. We will not be paying anything to the lessee. They will be paying us rent on the property.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I got that backwards. You're correct.
And wasn't this also, there was a discussion with the city about the community center being moved to Jacobs Park?
And that was one of the requests that they had come to. We are still in that process of finalizing what they'd like to see done with the park.
Okay.
So the reason that we're going forward with this before getting approval from the city is basically to protect this property, make sure that it is in use and being protected. The other question I had was, are they required to come back to the board for renewal of the term of the contract? I believe it said they are not, that it will be an automatic renewal. So I would like to include that they come back before the board.
I'm going to refer that one to Neil, who's negotiated the contract.
Mr. Consberg?
Yeah, I think she's right.
Yeah, it's in here.
Mr. Chairman,
Can't hear you.
Supervisor Miller, can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Okay. The contract provides for, if the operator, it's an initial term of 5 years, and the operator can submit a request for renewal. And if the operator is not a material default, the operator will have the option to renew the contract.
Is there a problem, though? Yeah, it's an automatic renewal at the discretion of the operator. So the question is, and I think what Supervisor Miller is suggesting, is that that not be automatic, but it would also have to come back to the board for approval. Is
After that initial 5-year term.
Yeah, after the initial 5-year term. Is that problematic?
That would be something that we would have to go back and renegotiate. The reason that we put it this way is that the operator requested that if, in order for them to be in compliance, they would have had to have invested approximately $300,000 in the property over the first 5 years. And if they're going to invest that much money over the first 5 years,
want certainty.
they wanted certainty that they would be able to continue to lease the property. Otherwise, why would they invest those funds? So we wrote it that way so that they would have some certainty that if in fact they complied with the agreement, invested that substantial amount in the property, that they would get to continue to lease the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's motion on the floor.
Okay. Okay, the motion before us is on the approval of items number 17 and 18 on the addendum agenda. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item number 18,
Are we good?
or excuse me, 19.
I'll move to item 19.
Mr. Chairman, I had a
Supervisor
question on item 19. In here, it says we've already spent $22,000 and the state grant is for $10,000. And I'm really confused when I go to page 5 of the executive summary on here. I don't understand why we're approving $10,000 when we spent $22,000.
Yeah, this is revenue coming.
This is revenue, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
It's not going to cover the full cost of the expenditure.
That's right. It's $10,000 in revenue, and it says on the page 5 of the attachment, it says we've already spent $22,000. So that's where the confusion comes for me, is that we have revenue of $10,000 and we've spent $22,000.
So 12,000 came from someplace else?
Mr. Chairman, we gladly bring this back to the next meeting, have that answer when we get here.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
I'll
So-
withdraw my motion.
if this is going to be brought back later, could we please get a copy of this wildfire protection plan as it is today? And any amendment that comes out of the state of Arizona, the Forestry Division, can be an amendment to that, or however it changes, we'll have documented later. But I'm certainly concerned about it. Having lived through 2 major fires, this board has certainly a great reason to have a fire protection plan. In light of recent studies on buffalo grass, I'm hoping that's also concerned and addressed by the plan. So thank you very much.
The maker of the motion has asked to have it withdrawn. Is the seconder, Mr. Supervisor Elias, concur?
Well, I'll go ahead and concur because I haven't had a chance to find the appropriate information in the rest of this contract.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. What's the will of the board?
Move to continue till the first meeting in May.
Second.
Motion and a second to move to continue item number 19 to the first meeting in May. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. I'm moving on to item number 20.
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor
I have
Miller.
a question on this one. This is another one that the renewals are not subject to coming back before the, it says renewals without further action by the Board of Supervisors. I would like to see those renewals come back before the board, and I'm confused about, is this Phase 2? Is this the completion of Phase 2? And are there future phases to this project?
Mr. Bittner. Or Mr. Whitaker, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll speak to the first part about the renewals first, and then maybe we can turn this over to Lionel. You know, I have to admit, I'm a little confused over that language as well. When I look at the original award, that did specify that the procurement director could approve renewals without further action by the board at an amount not to exceed the initial award amount. That does not agree with the agenda item summary that was initially submitted back in August of 2011. So I haven't been able to determine how that all occurred. Clearly, my authority does not exceed 5 years, and clearly, for that amount of money, we'd absolutely come back to the board. The one issue on this one, looking back on how it was originally brought to the board, we probably should have had more information related to the total installation as opposed to just phase one. It would have given the board members a better understanding of exactly what they were approving for phase one, and that additional phases were contemplated at additional costs, and that should have been brought back to the board. But I'll research the one-year renewals, but absolutely they will come back to the board.
Another question I had was, the language in there said that all phases are complete as of May 15th, 2013. Is it, as you said, I think your summary will probably explain that if you come back with all the phases. Is this the final phase, phase two?
I'll defer to Lionel on that.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Miller, no, there's actually a total of 5 phases that were mapped out for this project to replace 22 phone systems that are standalone systems that reside in various county buildings, some that are 15-plus years old. So our game plan was to do phase one, which took care of the downtown area, the 2 admin buildings here, Superior Court and Old Courts. Phase two is to take care of the remaining downtown buildings, Public Works, LSB, Bank of America, et cetera. From that, we're able to cannibalize parts from some of these existing phone systems that reside at these, so we can use them to maintain the systems that reside at the other locations. And then we plan to push this out to the outlying regions in a 3-year push that'll start in fiscal year 15.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move we continue this item until May 5th, and with the request that we get the additional information regarding all 5 phases and the cost to date, and whether and what the initial budgeted amount was, and the source of funds.
Second.
Motion and a second to continue the item to the May 7th board meeting, along with the direction offered by Supervisor Bronson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 21, 22, and 23.
I'll move those items.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the items 21 through 23. All those
And
in favor?
I'm in favor, but I'm very glad to see David Greenberg continuing on the Housing Commission, because he's been a star player, does good work, so.
It's a pleasure to appoint him, yes.
All those in
I
favor?
think it's really interesting to watch how well Mr. Greenberg and John Miles work together. It's actually a good relationship that has been fostered over the last 5-6 years. Very good.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. I don't have any speaker cards. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board or call to the public? Seeing no one, this meeting stands adjourned.